Welcome to this week's State of the Market Update with the Sultan of Sonar. Hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend as we start to get back into the swing of things and get ready for September. So, wanted to start off this week with a shot of our outbound tender volume index. And as you see here, it took a nosedive yesterday, and that is because of Labor Day. Everybody knows what happens on Labor Day. Everybody takes the day off. So it's actually shocking that the volume is even that high, but it is kind of historically a pretty big drop considering that you've got the 4th of July out here. That is also, it went lower than the 4th of July. But the important thing to note, other than this little drop, and I want to zoom in, is that volume actually is creeping up here. Now, I think I pointed out in the article last week that this may not be a long-term situation. Nothing to get too worked up over yet, but the trend is slightly up over the last week. So I would kind of, I'd be paying attention to what happens with volumes as the month of September goes on. September tends to be a swing month as we start to get ready for the fourth quarter and the big retail push at the end of the year. There's also some harvests that happen. So capacity can get tight as we start to close out the year. People start kind of pressing volume into the network. So volume is starting to trend up a little bit in the country. However, in terms of tender rejections, we're really not seeing too much yet. This is right up here at the top. Appears to be one of those situations where we're starting to get ready for the holiday. Tender rejections kind of go up. And in response to that, again, they didn't really go up as much as I kind of thought they would as they start to kind of retreat a little bit. We do believe that some capacity has come into the market that has relieved some of the pressure on carriers to fill these loads. The good news, I guess, is that they've already taken a lot of increases this year, so the revenue still should be high. The volume, like I said, is higher than it has been for the, I guess, since probably mid to late July. And I would expect to see a little bit more push, but carriers are not rejecting as many loads. They're off the yearly bottom down here, but they're starting to come back down after this initial Labor Day situation. So that being said, let's go into the bigger market and look at the maps and see what we can find in terms of opportunities. So this is the outbound tender market share map, and it's the weekly change. And what that means is I'm looking for markets that show this dark blue, and that dark blue means that there's potential opportunity because there's a lot of freight moving into those markets as it relates to the rest of the country. It's not a measure of absolute volume, it's a measure of relative volume. And all that means is that trucks are moving into these markets, or I should say they're moving out of these markets with more freight than they have been over the past week. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look at the Atlanta market. And a fun new feature of SONAR that we've implemented over the last couple of weeks is we can now click on this map and it kind of organizes your data a little bit better, and it shows you it gives a better organization and flow to what we're trying to figure out what's going on in the market itself. So specifically as it relates to the inbound tender rejection index, you can see here the monthly change, it's up, 2-week change is up. So tender rejections are going up into the market a little bit over the past couple of weeks. The volume is actually decreasing a little bit over the past few weeks. So that's an interesting note. Very contrary. So let's go ahead and just pull up the outbound tender volumes and inbound tender volumes for the Atlanta area. So Atlanta, Georgia, you see, and I'm going to show you a little trick here in a minute. So the volume overall looks like it's kind of dropped off, but it is on the same pattern as the rest of the country. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the market share Atlanta, just to give you guys a better idea. This is where market share really comes in useful because it eliminates anything like the holiday situation where all the volume in the country decreases, but you don't know how much it's decreasing in relation to the rest of the country. Hence the relational situation. So inbound and outbound tender market share have gone up in the Atlanta market, which means the South may be getting poised for a big move here as we move into September. Something I'd pay close attention to because Atlanta is the biggest market in the country in terms of freight volume. Big hub for the Southeast, obviously, a lot of freight moving out of Florida. And then, of course, we have the tropical storm system down on the Mobile area. So if that creates any kind of trouble, Gordon goes in there and, knocks down some buildings. They got to repair a bunch of stuff. You're going to see capacity kind of sucked into that market. And of course, we need to go ahead and look and see what's going on in the Mobile market as it relates to Gordon. And you can see that inbound tender rejections are going up. People did kind of see this coming a little bit, it looks like. So tender rejections have gone up almost 5 percentage points in the last week, potentially in response to what's going on in the Gulf of Mexico. I would expect at some point here after Gordon makes its way through that we're going to see some freight moving in and out of the area as that area kind of recovers from whatever they have going on. Hopefully nothing significant is going on in the Mobile market. Let's go ahead and look at the volume. Volume is down just like the rest of it. And we pull up the market share for Mobile. And they're pretty much flat. So nothing much has changed in terms of volume in Mobile, but tender rejections have gone up out of the area. Again, that's the big story so far this week. In the shortened week, the country still appears to be seeing increased volume, but tender rejections are down a little bit. So I don't think that spot markets are going to have a lot of volatility this week. Again, September, a big month in terms of figuring out what's going to happen in the rest of the season. So hope everybody has a great week, and thank you.